Good morning. If everyone could take their seats, we can get started. Thank you. Good morning. I'm Adam Rex, a professor in the Department of Biological Sciences and this year's chair of the Faculty Senate. It's my honor to welcome you to the President's Fall Address and the start of a new academic year. Before we begin, I want to thank not only the people who worked to make this event happen, but all of the staff on campus for tirelessly working to make this university a great place to work, teach, and learn. Yeah. I am proud to be a part of this campus community, a community that met the challenge of the pandemic and became stronger in the process, a community that looked out for each other with patience and understanding, and hopefully continues to do so. A community that always has as its North Star the success of our students. As one part of that, with grit and determination, last year a record number of students, 9,435, graduated and took part in commencement. I had the opportunity to attend all 7 commencements, and I had a front row seat in watching the president proudly shake the hands of all 9,435. It's just one of the many things he does that shows he is wholly dedicated to the students here. So with that, it's my pleasure to introduce to you the President of Sacramento State, Dr. Robert Nelson.
I wish the lights were up so I could see you. It is so good to see you. Thank you, Adam, for being here. There. Whoop. Whoop. We're back. We are really back, and it's so good to see so many faces, so many friends back in the ballroom. There's no need to play Bruce Springsteen this year. With our On the Rise campaign, raising over $238,493,377. We've gone beyond rising. We are a force unto ourselves. Sac State is a transformative university, a healing university. Sacramento State is Sacramento's university. And tomorrow, we're having a welcome back barbecue for over 6,400 students and their guests. Yes, over 6,400 students and their guests. Unlike the other Cal State universities who are losing 2,000 to 3,000 students, we are holding steady at 31,000 students. 31,000 students who want to be here, to be at Sac State. The truth is, we never went away. Throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, we have been here to serve our students and our community. We never went away, and we were never beat down. Sure, there were some bruises and some scars, but we never lost sight of our mission. We continued to transform lives by preparing students for leadership, service, and success. And as you just heard, we graduated 9,435 students in May. 9,435, a record. I have called you my heroes. I mean what I have said. I know that the backpack, the shirt or hoodie that we gave out as tokens of appreciation to the faculty and staff for all that they did over these last 2 years may have not been a lot, but we wanted to show our gratitude, even in a small way. I hope that the raises and the COVID-19 service awards, of which I will speak shortly, will mean more. Those raises and those awards were our highest priority in our budget this year. There is no question that you earned and deserve those raises and awards. We will never be able to thank you enough. Since 1947, the faculty, staff, and administrators have sacrificed themselves for our students and for our democracy. Education is a sacred profession. You've heard me say that many times. A sacred profession, whether you're mowing the lawn, advising a student, raising money for a scholarship, giving a flu shot, or teaching a class. For 75 years, the Sacramento State family has lifted generations out of poverty and has created the middle class in our region. As we enter into our 75th anniversary, we will celebrate the accomplishments of our forebears, and we will chart a way forward for the next 5 years with the finalization of our 2023-2028 strategic plan. This coming September 22nd, just under a month from now, we will commemorate the first day of classes for Sacramento State College 75 years ago. We will begin the celebration with a birthday party. And we will stage the largest swarm photo ever done at Sac State. I hope to see, I expect to see, I want to see, I need to see all of you there. There will be cookies and ice cream. How can you have a birthday party without cookies and ice cream? The birthday party, or I should say our diamond anniversary, will continue throughout the year, including homecoming and the holiday celebrations. We're going to have a huge media campaign and special banners throughout the city. The spring address, thank God I won't have to stand up here and go through all of it like normal. The spring address will be a montage of videos and speeches telling our history. And we will end with the Green and Gold Gala on April 22nd, 2023. Our own Robin Carter is coordinating the celebration. Thank you, Robin. A diamond anniversary is a big deal. 75 years in the making. We want to awaken the 270,000 alumni here in Sacramento and get them back on campus again, which should be easy given our football team, our men's and women's basketball, volleyball, softball, and baseball teams. They're going to be amazing this year. Please take a look at what James Outman, a Sacramento State business major, did when he was called up to the Dodgers on July 20th, 2022. He was a 7th-round draft pick, the 224th overall pick. He hit a 2-run home run in his first at-bat and had 3 RBIs. The next day, he went 2 for 2 against San Francisco Giants, and then he had consecutive hits in his next 2 games before being sent back to the minors, where he promptly hit a homer and drove in 2 runs in his first game back with Oklahoma City. I know that we will see him again soon in the majors. He's that good. He is so good that no one will be able to keep him down. He is a Hornet, and he bleeds green and gold.
Went up to Oklahoma City. OPS above 900 for him. On a 1-1 pitch, he hits a high drive. James Outman, welcome to the bigs. Welcome to your dream. A home run in his first big league at bat.
Stingers up. Please indulge me as I tell you, thanks to Dr. D.E. Moore's History of Sac State, which everyone should read, about how we got here today, how we were born. How many of you know where Desmond Hall is? It's in the North Village, right? One of the oldest residence halls at Sacramento State. In June 1947, Senator Earl D. Desmond introduced Senate Bill 1221, which created Sacramento State College, appropriating $500,000 for the first budget, a far cry from our current budget of $395,769,000. Initially, we had to share a campus with Sacramento Junior College, and apparently they did not like us very much. We had 5 full-time faculty and 25 part-time faculty. Talk about tenure density problems. On September 22nd, 1947, we opened classes for 235 students, 119 of whom were part-time, and most of whom were GIs returning from World War II. The 4 classes taught by the faculty were sandwiched between the junior college courses. Early in the morning, before the junior college courses were scheduled, late in the evening after the junior college courses were finished, and at noon when the junior college folks were eating lunch. And you think our parking is a nightmare? The Sac City Junior College faculty even went so far as to push our faculty's cars out of supposedly their parking spots so that they could park next to their classrooms. That spring, we grew to 594 students, 371 who were part-time. Compare that to our 31,000 students now. On June 3rd, 1948, John J. Collins, Jr. graduated at the top of his class as the one and only graduate in his class. He was 23 years old. Compare his graduating class of 1 to our 2022 class of 9,435. Even back then, our focus was so similar to now, totally centered around students. Listen to Guy West, our first president. We certainly carry a heavy burden of responsibility to help these students round out their college careers with an appropriate combination of general and special education. They must be something. They must know something. And in this materialistic world, they've got to be able to do something, what with the present prices of hamburger steaks, cracker box houses, and secondhand cars. On a sidebar note, I'm so happy that we have added leadership and service to our mission statement. We are about giving back and not about being able to buy hamburgers and used cars. On April 21st, 1948, Governor Earl Warren signed a bill authorizing us to buy land and build a college with a total budget of $1,500,000. We added courses, just like we have been adding courses ever since, and in 1948 and 49, we offered 512 courses. On April 26, 1949, we produced our first play, The Glass Menagerie, and we began to have winning basketball teams. We were able to squeeze 1,445 students in early morning, late morning, early morning classes, evening classes, not enough for the growing demand. So we bought an apartment building on 9th Avenue and Freeport Boulevard for offices and classes. Then we bought a building with a store in it and a restaurant. And you think you have it bad. The faculty used the ovens in the restaurant as file cabinets. And one faculty member burned up all of the newly printed teacher certificates when he tried to warm himself by turning on one of the ovens. On December 5th, 1949, we took title of 228 acres south of H Street along the American River at a total cost of $385,000. Faculty started purchasing lots for homes at $725 a lot in River Park. In 1950, we became fully accredited and we established our first faculty senate. That year, we raised all of $280 for student loans as compared to raising over $23,493,377 this year. And as you have heard, $238,967,850 for the comprehensive campaign. In 1952, the year of my birth, we laid the cornerstone to Sac Hall. H Street was widened, and eventually the underpass below the tracks on J Street was open, and the Elvis Cloverleaf was constructed to improve traffic. But there were still 4 to 5 accidents every day at the entrance to campus off H Street, or what we call Carlson Street. Traffic was horrible, as it still is, a constant with our landlocked university. So the city and the university condemned 22 acres between the university and Folsom Avenue, Folsom Boulevard, and a second entrance to the campus was born. But we remained largely a white, GI-driven campus that was incapable of processing GI payments to pay for the books at the bookstore. And here we are today with the same parking and traffic problems and with the same processing problems. But we do not look like we looked in 1952. Nor are we the same university, even if we still are student-centered. This year, I am proud to say, we hired 62 faculty, 53% of whom identified themselves as being from underrepresented minority populations. "42 of the new faculty are female, 19 are male, 1 identifies as non-binary. We will be joined by 10 new Latinx faculty, 19 new Asian American Pacific Islander faculty, 2 new Black faculty, 2 new Native American faculty, 10 new white faculty, and 10 faculty members who chose not to disclose their ethnicity. Our faculty still do not resemble our student body, but we are making progress with our deliberate and intentional hiring practices. They are making a difference. Since our founding, our student body has also greatly changed. We are no longer primarily made up of veterans, though I am very proud of our Veterans Success Center and our 303 veterans and the 882 dependents of the veterans whom we serve. Overall, we have grown from that first class of 235 students in 1947 to 5,709 in 1957, to 11,086 in 1977, to 24,128 in 1987, dropping to 23,478 in 1997, climbing again to 28,829 in 2007, and ending up at 30,935 students as of this morning, which will grow more during this coming week. The growth of the student body has been tremendous, but the change in ethnicity, and in too many cases, the lack of change in the ethnicity of the students we serve, has been even more dramatic and often troubling. We only have data on ethnicity going back to 1977. In 1977, 1.3 of our students were Native American. 4.7% were Asian American. 4.1% were Black. Only 3.4% were Latinx. There was only 1 Pacific Islander, and 53.8% were white. 30% were unknown, and 2.6% were international. Jumping to 1997, 1.4% of our students were Native American, a 0.1% improvement, if you can call that an improvement. 15.5% were Asian American, a 10.8% improvement. 6.7% were Black, a mere 2.6% improvement. There were 144 Pacific Islanders enrolled, that is 0.6%. and 48.7% were white, a 5.1% decrease. 11.9% were unknown, and 2.7% were international. Today, only 0.3% of our students, 64 total, are Native American. In my opinion, a shame on us. 19.8% are Asian American, a 4.3% improvement. 6.2% are Black, a 0.5% disturbing drop. 36.6% are Latinx, a 24.1% increase, making the Latinx population our largest population. There are 292 Pacific Islanders enrolled, that is 0.9%, and 23.3% are white, a 25.4% decrease in total population. Only 3.3% are unknown, and 3.8% are international. Yes, we have changed. We have changed a lot since our founding, and we must change more as we continue to serve our students and each other. Hence, we are opening a new Native American Center, the Esaktima Center, for our Native American students and for all students who want to learn about Native American culture. We are virtually doubling the size of the Martin Luther King Jr. Center. We doubled the sizes of the Dreamers Resource Center and the Cerner Center during the pandemic. And we are building a new APITA Center for our Asian American, Pacific Islander, and Desi American students, as well as for the Full Circle Project. We are also continuing to support our LGBTQ plus students through the Pride Center. The Women's Resource Center is thriving in its new spot on the second floor of the Union. And in the budget, there is funding for the employee affinity groups, for anchor initiatives, and for our anti-racism initiatives. And now the one to really clap for. But most importantly, in the budget, there's funding for much needed, long awaited, and well-earned raises. By now, many of you have read my SAC Send about raises. Basically, everyone is getting a 7% increase. The faculty have already received retroactive for last year, 4%, and will get an additional 3% this year. We had hoped for a 4% increase this year for the faculty, but the governor cut the Senate's proposed budget for the CSU system by $100 million. The rest of us, the staff, as well as MPPs and confidential employees, will receive 7% raise retroactive to July 1st. Unfortunately, some may not see the money in their checks until October 1st because the state has to input the information manually into its payroll system. I want to make it clear that the delay is not caused by Sac State's payroll department, as some have erroneously implied. If you haven't noticed, we live in a technologically underdeveloped state. In addition to the 7%, faculty and most staff will receive a one-time $3,500 bonus, what is being called a COVID Service Award. The bonus includes MPPs and confidential employees, but does not include me. Shame. No, right. 2 unions bargained for a $2,500 bonus, seeking other contractual benefits. That bargaining was not done here centrally. It was done centrally in Long Beach. What has changed most dramatically since our founding in 1947 is our budget. Though, as you will soon see, not as much as we had hoped. Sac State started with a budget of $500,000, which quickly grew to a whopping $1.5 million. This fiscal year, our budget is $395,769,000, an increase of $24,120,000 over last year. Because of the increase, we were able to pay for the 7% raises, which cost $9,680,000 from Sac State's budget. We were also able to cover $4,500,000 in benefit costs for new employees. And we were able to make up the $1,347,600 reduction in state university grants that we didn't receive because we had fewer Pell students this year. Plus, we were able to pay for $560,000 in additional health care costs, health care premiums, and $237,000 in retirement benefits without having to pass those costs along to employees. After all the mandatory costs were realized, our budget really has only $1,198,985 more in discretionary funding than last year, a far cry from the $24 million that it initially looked like we received. What are we going to do with that $1.2 million that we have received in new funding? The University Budget Advisory Committee, UBAC, which is charged with making recommendations for expenditures and setting the budget, ran 2 scenarios, one with no additional funding and one with $3 million in extra funding. The $1.2 million is not $3 million, but running the $3 million scenario allowed the deans and the divisions to make requests in priority order. UBAC made its own overall priority recommendations. In the meantime, the provost worked with the deans to develop potential cluster hires to continue to increase the diversity of the faculty. At the same time, the cost of the new CRM, the Customer Relationship Management Platform for universities' advancements operations, increased considerably. And we discovered that the ongoing costs of the chatbot that UBAC agreed to fund had not been funded. Hence, I amended the UBAC's original recommendations. I added $250,000 to hire up to 60 new faculty, $250,000 beyond what had been allocated by UBAC's budget, so that we could pursue the cluster hires that the provost and the deans were recommending. I added $125,000 for ongoing costs for the University Advancement CRM project, and I added $125,000 for the ongoing costs of the chatbot. The bottom line is that after making these adjustments, $698,985 were available from the $1.2 million to hire new employees recommended by UBAC. Based on the 5 imperatives, in addition to the new faculty, we'll be adding 9 new positions next year, including a Title IX investigator, a first-star director for our foster youth program, a regional recruiter to keep ensuring that our enrollment remains positive, and an annual giving associate to help us continue our success in our big day of giving and in adding new donors. But the position that excites me personally most is a housing manager for a new Project Rebound house. We received $550,000 grant from the state to buy a house for our formerly incarcerated students. UEI is adding another $275,000 toward the purchase, and so is the President's office. This house will be a game changer for our Project Rebound students and for our Anchor University initiative. That said, there are 3 flaws in the budget. We're continuing to fund $1,800,000 for lecturers from one-time funding to maintain our promise to our students that we have the courses they need available. 2, we have a $210,000 deficit for athletics, for scholarships that are committed to our student athletes in accordance with the NCAA rules, which have increased in cost because of the higher housing prices on our campus. And 3, we have no budget for benefits for the 9 new hires. We'll have to pay that expense with one-time funding from the reserves, then budget the benefits in next year's budget as we did with the $4,500,000 in benefits for new hires this year, a practice that we cannot continue. But there is good news. Over the last 3 years, thanks to our steadily and growing enrollment, we have built up our reserves. And unlike the state, we are not saving those funds for a rainy day. We have allocated $10 million for one-time expenses and projects from our reserves. Now, I know that I'm getting down in the weeds by listing everything I'm about to list, but I want everyone to know that we're allocating these funds to all divisions, to everyone, so that we can meet the needs of our students. $100,000 for faculty development, $100,000 for the educational EDD program, $240,000 for Kadima Hall to finish the renovations, $10K for Civitas to help with Hornet launch, $426,000 for a nuclear magnetic spectrometer for NSM's lab to replace the dead spectrometer, $300K for an environmental studies lab to build cutting-edge lab for our students and faculty, $100,000 for library carpeting to end trip hazards, especially on the 3rd and 4th floor. Yeah, Amy, I can hear you. $200,000 for stadium safety to repair corrosion in the bolting and the stands and the pylons. $280,000 for an all-gender bathroom and lactation station master plan. $100,000 for pathway repairs throughout the campus, $100,000 for additional trip hazard elimination, $175,000 for a position management system to ensure that we hire the right people in the right jobs on time. $200,000 for facilities equipment replacement as we move towards more electrification and reduce our carbon footprint. $100,000 to resurface the tennis courts for kinesiology and for their pickleball matches, whatever pickleball is. A video board in the nest where the pixels are no longer functioning. $425,000 for lighting for soccer and softball for Title IX compliance to enhance the planned lighting in our intramural fields. $100,000 for inclusive excellence anti-racism tracking progress dashboard so everyone will be able to track our progress on the action items in the anti-racism and inclusive campus plan. We said we were going to act, we will act, and we will be accountable. $550,000 for consultants for a new ADA position as we implement universal design. $25,000 for faculty diversity hiring conference. $50,000 for the employee infinity group diversity work. $500,000 for loaner computers for our new students in lieu of iPads and C6S. I know it's going on. $300,000 for classroom computer refresh. $750,000 for campus computer refresh. $254,000 for captioning. We have also dedicated $595,000 in lottery funds for interpreters and translation services. $100,000 to finish the PETA Center construction. $55,000 to finish the MLK renovations. $175,000 for enrollment management to increase the yield of transfer students and for students who have dropped and stopped out. $290,000 for student recruitment. $150,000 to have the scholarship office built out, and $450,000 for Lassen Hall updates, including a all-gender bathroom, finally, in Lassen Hall. There are more items, I could go on, but I wanted to give you highlights. All in all, given the 7% raises and the COVID bonuses, I feel very good about the budget. As I said, the raises were our highest priority. And I feel very good about all that we have accomplished in these most recent 2 years and what we have planned for the new future. I asked the members of the President's Cabinet to give me a list of their team's accomplishments for 21-22. I got back pages and pages of accomplishments. I want to highlight a selected few, some of which I've mentioned earlier but deserve to be mentioned again. And I do this exercise knowing in advance that I will miss some amazing accomplishments and will likely slight some very great people. Indulge me for a second time with the list of accomplishments, not in ranked order, but in the order they came into my inbox. I knew I'd get in trouble if I ranked them. The completion of the On the Rise comprehensive campaign, you can see advancement got it in first. $238,493,377, but more importantly, the doubling of scholarships available for our students. The creation of the Latina Mentoring Network, the first of many new communities of practice groups to come. The hiring of 62 faculty, 53% of whom identified themselves as underrepresented minorities. The creation of the Provost Progress to Promotion Program and the Provost Professor Novel Program. The implementation of a new program to reduce the DFW, drop, failure, and withdrawal rates in over 60 courses. A 9% increase in the first-time full-time freshman graduation rate to 28.7%. The Finish in 4 and Through in 2 programs have saved our students over $80 million in total cost of attendance and debt. A 55% increase in the degree-seeking enrollment in summer sessions. The creation of and implementation of the Employee Exit Survey. The completion of a master plan for the California Mobility Center in the Sac State Innovation Hub on the Ramona property. The gift of a 300-acre Placer Ranch Center and the completion of the master plan for the Placer Ranch Center to be established in Placer County. The hiring of Chief Chet Madison and 4 new female replacement officers. The implementation of the Youth Protection Plan, exceeding our enrollment target by 11%, 26,433 resident FTEs, while other universities were losing enrollment and having to cut budgets. Processing 90% of the new TCEs as part of the new transfer credit project. Awarding $100,000 in Anchor University grants to faculty to improve our surrounding communities. Receiving over $2,975,000 in what used to be called earmarks and are now called community project funds for a new power engineering lab, a cybersecurity classroom, the ASI Children's Center, the Law Enforcement Candidate Scholars Program, and a data analytics artificial intelligence lab. Upgraded 420 classrooms with new state-of-the-art technology. Expanded the Wi-Fi coverage throughout the campus, most notably outdoors. Greatly expanded outdoor seating. And let's not forget, tomorrow, a 6,400 student parent welcome back barbecue. I could go on with this list, but I think the point is clear. We have not just endured, we have thrived, and we will continue to thrive. Our Hornet family is still intact, and we are still transforming lives as well as Sacramento and California. So we've looked back, and we've looked at today and some of the tomorrow. What about our future? Let's be honest. Our future is clouded by COVID-19, with all its variants, and now with monkeypox. Nothing has changed with the vaccination policy. To access campus, you must have your vaccinations and be up to date with all boosters or have a medical or religious exemption. Being up to date means that you have received all doses of the COVID-19 vaccine for which you are eligible, including boosters. We have discontinued the testing clinic for most unvaccinated and exposed individuals. Per the MOU with the CFA, only faculty with exemptions must report weekly if they are testing. Otherwise, we are only asking employees and students to test if they are symptomatic. If anyone tests positive, they should stay home and test again in 5 days. If they test negative after 5 days, they can return to class or work, but they should wear a mask for an additional 5 days. If they test positive, they should continue to self-isolate at home for an additional 5 days and can return only after they test negative or symptoms have resolved. Free testing for students who are symptomatic will be available in the well. Testing kits will be available at various locations on campus for any symptomatic employees. Residence halls will require pre-testing before arrival and testing upon arrival. If positive, students must return home for 10 days. Unlike in the past, if students in the residence halls test positive during the semester, we will allow students to remain in their own rooms to self-isolate, but they must wear masks at all times when around other students in shared spaces and when getting grab-and-go food. They should not go to class until they test negative or have received clearance from the health center. As of today, 100% of the returning students in the residence halls are fully compliant with the vaccination policy. And 96% of the new students are compliant. We expect that percentage to jump to 100% by tomorrow. We are not requiring face coverings except as recommended after positive test results and in healthcare settings. Our campus, in accordance with the County Health Department's advice, on our campus, in accordance with the County Health Department's advice, individuals should make the decision about whether to wear a face covering based upon their own personal risk assessment. Masks are only required in our healthcare facilities. Faculty and staff are not authorized to require students or employees to wear masks. Of course, if the county advises differently, we will adapt accordingly. As you know, California has declared a state of emergency regarding monkeypox. The so-called state of emergency is a technical declaration so that the governor can ramp up full mobilization of all available public health resources, including increased production of vaccine. We have had no reported cases of monkeypox on our campus. We will continue to educate and continue to increase our prevention efforts, provide testing and treatment for students at the health center, and assist students who are at greatest risk with access to the vaccine. The virus is primarily spread by skin-to-skin contact with anyone currently infected with monkeypox, as well as with sharing of linens and clothing. It is important that we all better understand the risk factors and how to prevent the spread. But please know that the county health officials have told us that the risk is low. We cannot let COVID-19 or monkeypox derail our fundamental mission of serving our students. So, what is in our future? I'm here to call you to action, both literally and figuratively. It is easy to be part of the past and to go along with the flow, but I'm out here calling you to create Sac State's future. In 2014, before I arrived at Sac State adopted a strategic plan to make the university a destination campus. The 6 goals were admirable and fit well with our mission. There were also strong strategies to achieve the goals, and there were a few measurable benchmarks to assess progress towards achieving them. However, there were no imperatives in the plan to drive the goals, and there were no action items to engage the faculty, staff, students, and community in the actual work of the plan. For the last 7 years, we have built those imperatives: the graduation initiative, philanthropic giving and support, diversity, inclusion, and anti-racism, health and safety, and the Anchor University Initiative. And we have put in place specific action items like our DFW plan, our comprehensive campaign plan, our COVID-19 initiatives, etc., that are accessible and measurable. Throughout the pandemic and even before, we began a new strategic planning process led by a strategic planning committee of over 30 dedicated individuals. They have refined the imperatives, honed and expanded the goals under each imperative. They never lost sight of our mission or of our vision, though they put them both in active voice, which an old professor of English like me appreciates and approves. Our mission, as California's capital university, Sacramento transforms lives by preparing students to lead, serve, and succeed. Our vision, to be a welcoming, caring, and inclusive leader in education, innovation, and engagement. As a minimalist, I love both statements. There's no overblown rhetoric and no cliches about excellence. These statements are laser-focused, as we must be. The 6 imperatives that they have designed are equally laser-focused, yet they are much more prescriptive and should be so that we can create goals and action items to support them. 1, elevate student learning and success by becoming a more student-ready university. 2, advance innovative teaching, research, scholarship, and creative activity programs. 3, enrich the diversity and equity of the university to create a more welcoming, inclusive, and just community. 4, ensure the development and growth of people, fiscal, and structural resources. 5, embed anchor university efforts throughout the campus to strengthen community engagement and impact. 6, create a campus ecosystem and a culture of wellness. We've created shorthand versions for these imperatives by which the imperatives will be better known. 1, learning and student success. 2, teaching, scholarship, and creative activity. 3, justice, diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. 4, research development and sustainability. 5, intentional, dedicated community involvement. 6, wellness. Everything is subject to refinement. Nothing is set in stone. But I want to give you 2 examples of the imperatives and the goals associated with them. First, learning and student success. The imperative, elevate student learning and success by becoming a more student-ready university. The goals, cultivate an educational environment that promotes holistic growth and academic achievement. Enhance knowledge and practice to make the university more student-ready. Enhance opportunities for student career development and lifelong learning. Improve academic degree completion rates. Remove administrative barriers that impede student success. Close opportunity gaps for all students. Now you'll note that the actual actions that will be necessary to achieve these goals have not been defined. Those spaces are empty. My call to action is for you, all of you, to define those action items, to see where you and your department fit into the strategic plan and how you will make these goals reality. Let me give you a second example of an imperative, one that was especially important to the President's cabinet because it focuses on the campus community, on where we work, how we get along with each other, and how we impact our surrounding community. The imperative: ensure resource development and growth for people, financial, and structural resources. The goals: employ strategies that promote equity for employees through training, education, and professional development. Build an employer brand that attracts high potential and high-performing talent to the university. Invest in philanthropic efforts to build stability and support for student success and make transformational investments in the university possible. Raise Sac State's profile with local, state, and federal leaders in order to secure additional funding, university partnerships, and student opportunities. Build a strong link between community engagement and our philanthropic aims. Expand campus sustainability efforts consistent with, but not limited to, the University 2021 Climate Action Plan. Invest in the physical and digital infrastructures to support desired academic research, workforce, and accessibility needs while building on lessons learned from the pandemic. With these two examples, I may not have chosen the imperatives in which you or your division or your department feels most invested. We will be posting the imperatives on the website shortly. But remember, there are 6 imperatives. There is room for the entire Hornet family to be involved. I'm asking you to invest in the imperative that matches with your mission and with your heart. Ask yourselves, what actions can I undertake? Can my department undertake to achieve the goals of each imperative? That, again, is my call to action. That is my call to making yourself the very future of Sac State, of the Hornet family. During the fall semester, we will be convening town halls, focus groups, and individual meetings in this next step to refine the plan, but most importantly, to identify the action items that will be the heart of the plan. I ask that you get involved. I ask that we have true shared governance. I ask that during the 75th Diamond Anniversary, you help us create the future for the next 75 years, and for all of the hundreds and hundreds of thousands of lives we will transform during those 75 years. Let's make it happen at Sac State. Why? Because Sac State is #1. Stingers up!